Good evening, dear friends from Europe. Good morning, good afternoon for the other parts of this wonderful world. With a great pleasure to be here once again in this wonderful evening from Curitiba, south of Brazil. Silvia, in United Kingdom, and Charles from France. And Stevan is working in Cork, Ireland, traveling. So we are here to unite our efforts to talk about this wonderful theme, this wonderful subject, the promising counselor. That is very important for us to understand. And Sylvia and Charles, they are more or less an experts in this subject. Okay? And welcome everyone that entering in this room now, and you can write in the chat box your suggestion, your comments, your insight, and join us in this wonderful evening. Now, over to Sylvia and over to Charles to greeting you all.
Hello, good evening, or good afternoon, everyone. Once again, we are here already in the second week of the month of January, talking about the consoler promised by Jesus. So it's a very special theme, and I hope everyone be able to enjoy it. So many blessings to everyone that are with us or be listening to us afterwards. Bom dia, boa tarde a todos, ou boa noite. Hoje nós vamos falar sobre o Consolador prometido por Jesus, um tema muito bonito, maravilhoso, e estamos já na segunda semana de janeiro, o ano passando super rápido novamente, mas esperamos que todos aproveitem hoje esse tema muito bom, muito bonito do Evangelho, e que seja muitas bênçãos sobre todos nós. Thank you.
Charles?
Bonjour, bonsoir. Hello, everyone. Very happy to be here again with you to talk about what does this mean, this promised consoler, and what did really happen, and to console, why, console what, console whom. So this is what we'll try to clarify a little bit for you right now. So this morning for Josiah, who says us good morning, good evening, or for Camille and the other, depending on where you are in the world.
Thank you, Charles. And as usual, when we are greeting our dear friends, we show a short video related in connection with our discussion tonight. So give me a small time so I can share my screen. I hope I can do everything as I need to do.
It's tough for us to understand that the difficulties of life that are presented to us may cause us to not perhaps want to do something good because we only see the now and we forget there's a greater picture involved in everything. There are minute details and we tend to focus on those details, but it's important to remember that those details are small parts of a great machine that eventually will produce the outcome of those things that we want. Whenever we face these small situations, we have to do what is right, what is good, in accordance with our conscience, because we are the best judges of our own selves. The conscience is the best judge of our own actions. So if we listen to our own selves when we're doing certain actions, certain deeds, we will always do what is right. We will be in accordance with what God expects from us, the right behavior, the behavior that will open up new horizons for us, broaden our vision of life, and allow us to be at peace with ourselves. Because when we don't do what is right, we're not at peace with ourselves. When we do what is wrong, we frustrate ourselves because we know that we are doing something wrong, because we're not following that guide, which is the conscience. The law of God is written within our conscience. And if the law of God is within our conscience, that means that all we have to do is pay attention and pay heed to whatever our conscience tells us. And everything is based on love. God is all about love. The truth is all about love. So if we listen to our conscience, we're following the example of love. We're following that cosmic verb that reigns supreme in the universe. We're following in accordance in the footsteps of the greatest moral example this earth ever had, which is Jesus Christ.
Now, it's a wonderful short video that brings to us exactly the message that we need to understand the importance. If you are brothers and sisters, sons and daughters of God, Mother, Father God, we know the importance to worship God and understand why we have Jesus as the most important spirit that came to earth. So now I'd like to start with Charles now. And Charles has more or less 10, 15, 20 minutes to talk about his subject. Charles, can you clarify us, me, and others about the spirit of truth that is in the Gospel according to Spiritism, chapter 6?
Okay, let's try. It's a complex and delicate subject to treat, so I will try to do it in the best possible way. When Kardec started, or better saying, when Hippolyte Léon Denis Rivail was starting investigating this phenomenon of moving and turning tables, and he started having communications from spirits that he was gathering and analyzing and so on. There were a point in time, this was before he was issuing the Spirits book, first edition, which was in 18th of April, 1857. So probably in the year maybe 1855 or maybe even 1856, when he was preparing this book and gathering the elements for doing it. He received some communications from spirits with signatures. And one of the spirits who used it to give very nice and profound and strong and deep communications was signing Spirit of Truth. So that made Kardec, he was thinking, but strange, what is, why, how is this Spirit of Truth? And this is then when he remembered then when you look in the gospel, there is in John, only in John, it's not in the Matthew, Mark, or the three others. It's only in Mark, only in John. And in John, section 14 and sub-item 15, 17, and 26, we can find the following statement. So I ask your permission to read it. And it is saying like this: if you love me, keep my commandments, and I will pray to the Father, and he shall give you another comforter, that he may abide with you forever. Even the Spirit of truth, whom the world cannot receive, because it sees him not, neither knows him. But you know him, for he dwells with you and shall be in you. But the Comforter, which is the Holy Ghost, whom the Father will send in my name, he shall teach you all things and bring you all things to your remembrance, whatsoever I have said to you. Okay, so this is what we can find in John, as per what Jesus told at that time. So he was clearly talking about a comforter. It's written comforter, but we use also the word consoler, that will stay with us forever. Okay. He's mentioning clearly, explicitly, the spirit of truth, okay? That the world cannot receive because he doesn't see him. So we know also that we do not see the spirits in the normal states. Only some mediums who have this faculty of seeing spirits can see the spirits. Otherwise, we cannot see the spirits in our normal states. Neither knows him, okay? But you know him, for he dwells with you and he shall be in you, okay? So this means at the beginning, he's saying, if you love me and keep my commandments, this is, if you love me, please follow, please put into practice, give example yourself of what I did. So love your neighbor, do unto the other what you like the other to do unto you. Love God above all, love your neighbor as yourself, and so on, and all these examples that Jesus gave. He is asking us to try to follow these steps. And if we follow these steps, that is then what is triggering this coming of the Spirit of Truth. Okay. He says it's a Holy Ghost. So ghost is a word that is used at that time for what we call today spirits. So you see, it makes sense. Whom the Father will send in my name. Okay. He shall teach you all things. So teach all things and bring all things to your remembrance. It means not teaching things which are different from what Jesus was teaching when he was here, but remember what Jesus has taught 1,018 years before, and also giving more information, more clarification, and more explanation. Okay. So Kardec then made the link. Is this spirit, which is a signing spirit of truth, this spirit of truth that was announced by Jesus in this gospel of John, chapter 14 and subsection 15 to 17? So he was starting making his observations and analysis about this. And really, there was a kind of a match. I mean, the Spirit of Truth himself, in some communication, he says, yes, I'm coming back like I was here 1,018 years ago to teach you everything and to remember you everything. I did not come to destroy the law, but to fulfill it, to clarify it, to explain it, to go more in detail with it, on it. And this is exactly what the Spirit of Truth was doing. And this is where this hypothesis comes, that this promised consoler and the Spirit of Truth was indeed the Spirit who was communicating with us, the humans, through Kardec and several mediums, and who left us several messages in the books of Kardec, what you call the codification. Okay. So then Kardec is analyzing and saying, okay, Jesus promised this consoler, Spirit of Truth, that the people, the world at that time did not know, because the people at that time means us, before we 1,018 years ago, 800 years ago, when we were less evolved than today, we had not the same capacity of understanding what we have today. So we were not sufficiently mature in order to be able to understand more things than what Jesus told us through parables, amongst others. Okay, so you see again this connection with the promised consoler makes sense. Okay. And the consoler, which is sent by the Father to teach humanity all things and to call to mind all that Christ had said. So this means that the Spirit of Truth was to come in order to bring, to teach additional matters, either because Jesus did not tell everything because the people did not have the capacity to understand at that time, or because we as humans would have forgotten this teaching of Jesus. And in fact, both reasons were valid, because the gospel, unfortunately, has been wrongly, and is still today wrongly interpreted, not in the true sense that Jesus explained. And this is why the Spirit of Truth and other spirits, of course, who collaborated to the codification, came in order to clarify what is the real meaning of these teachings that Jesus brought, particularly the moral laws. And they did not bring it just by statements, they bring it with explanations, explaining us, look why do you have why it is in your interest, if you want to evolve, if you want to be happy, if you want to stop suffering, to practice these teachings, because we have a soul. This soul is immortal, so we will die one day, but the soul will survive. The death is only the soul freeing from the physical body, and then it continues in the spiritual world, its evolution before when time is coming and decision is made by the soul to reincarnate. Okay, so clearly we have now examples of what happens with the soul after the death, depending on what the person did when the person was living. So we have, by example, why we should not be violent, why we should not be too much attached to the earthly things, showing that all this is making our life, our spiritual life, complicated. It's not helping us to evolve. So we have the messages from the spirits in different conditions, helping us to understand these moral laws and making the parallel. Yes, when we look carefully, this is exactly what Jesus said and what the spirits, including the Spirit of Truth, are repeating us today. Okay, so somehow this promise that Jesus did came into execution. So there was a how to say, the spirits who came back, sent by God and led by this team led by Jesus, to teach us all these moral laws, that we have forgotten along the time, and teach them in a different way, not in parables anymore, but in clear wordings that we can clearly understand, with examples of the daily lives, to explain us these laws of nature, or God's law, if you prefer. God's law or natural laws are the same things, helping us to evolve towards happiness. And then there is also this question of how to say, of course, not everyone is accepting this, and it can also be understandably considered as pretentious from the Spiritism to reivindicate having that the Spiritism is the promised consoler. Okay, so we just leave everyone to analyze, to see, to look, to see the circumstances in which it happened. The role of Kardec being only to compile the things and not to bring content. He was only taking the content that was brought spontaneously by the spirits and organizing it in a logical sequence. His role was, that's why we say it's a codifier. And this consoling, these teachings do not come from the head of Kardec. They come from the spirits, including from the spirits of truth, and not from personal ideas of Kardec. And that's also a big difference between what happened during the Spiritist codification and other religions who were revealed by individuals. Because here the revelation was not individual, it was through several spirits, several mediums, wherever in the world. So it was something universal that happened and is still continuing happening today. Okay, so that's it. Now about why do we tell it the consoler. So I think I will leave this to Silvia to develop, because of course on Earth It's not nothing new, but there are a lot of people suffering. And why do we suffer? That's exactly what these spirits came to explain us. But I leave this to Silvia. Thanks for your attention.
It's very important, Charles, what you said. And also, I met some people that days before, and we were talking about suffering, the wide situation, people are in prison and dying, etc., etc. Oh, where are the gods? Where they are God and Jesus and the other that is living this planet in this situation, and we are suffering a lot. So exactly what is the question for Sylvia, the explanation that Sylvia will give, right? Christ said, Sylvia, blessed are the afflicted, for they shall be comforted. But how can we bless suffering if we do not know why we suffer? Because the majority don't understand Spiritism or don't study Spiritism that brings the consoler in our hands. Can you comment, please? Your microphone.
Sorry. Well, this is, I think, one of the crucial points, not only in Spiritism, but in every religion. Because we tend to see things, suffering, as a punishment, and I think throughout history, many of the teachings of Jesus were, even though they are still very much the source of him, but they've been changed and manipulated to suit certain times and certain pride, or for mankind sometimes have used the words not only of Jesus but of the many prophets and things that came to suit themselves and what they wanted to implant on other people. So that's why it's so important sometimes to go to and to read it yourself. And I think that's one of the first lessons that the spirits teach us, that we needed to go and look for ourselves to come to our own conclusions. And this is very important. I think when Charles was quoting from St. John's, there are two things here that I like to read before I do go on for the explanations, because it's connected. After he said, when Charles read the Spirit of Truth, Jesus goes on to say, because he said he would live with us forever. And then Jesus goes on to say, I will not leave you comfortless. I will come to you. Yet a little while, and the world see me no more. But ye see me, because I live. Ye shall live also. And that day ye shall know that I am in my Father, and ye in me, and I in you. I think this is, it's very important for us to understand this, because after he said he would send the consoler, he confirmed it. He said, you will see it. I will not be here, but I will not leave you without being consoled. I think, and this, he has fulfilled this promise. Now, about suffering, I think we have a tendency, and it's very, it happens quite a lot sometimes when people go through a difficult time in their lives. They even sometimes when they're very religious, if something happens, a tragedy happens in their lives, they say, oh, God is no good. God, it doesn't, there is no God because this happened to me. And I think sometimes we talk in such, it's almost like a selfish way, as if God is there to fulfill our whims. And we have to understand that God, and I think one of the most precious things that Spiritism teaches us is that there is no punishment. Whatever happens, there is a reason to happen. There is a cause to happen. And a tragedy happens at certain points in our lives, because either because in the past we have committed things, we have broken the law of God and of ourselves, and the punishment is not a punishment, but we have to live situations that are similar, so we can feel ourselves the harm that we have caused to others. And in many situations, things will happen because we actually asked for the lesson. We ask for it. And and I know that is very difficult, because when we're going through a very difficult situation, that we have to face something that is quite painful, we ourselves ask, why me? Why this is happening to me now? Because we forget that we asked sometimes for the lesson, to be able to learn and to have empathy to other people. Because when we've been through a difficult time, when we've been through certain pain, say for instance, a loss of a loved one, when someone comes to tell us, I've lost someone very dear to me, we can sympathize with them. We know what they are feeling. We can give a heart. We send out a loving heart to them, because we know how it feels like to lose someone that we love and we care for. And I think this is one of the reasons why we go through certain difficulties and certain painful periods, a painful loss, because it gives us the understanding of what a person is going through. Because if we never had the experience, we would know. So, just pull yourself together. It's one of those things that people say, pull yourself together. This is nothing. Because it might be something simple to someone, but for the person going through the difficulty and the pain, is something that is very painful. So I think sometimes learning as well gives us empathy to support and sustain others when they are going through difficult times. Also, I think in the gospel, they teach us that in the gospel according to Spiritism, that they actually explain quite a lot of the parables that are not quite clear, or they expand the knowledge that Jesus left. Because I think, like Charles mentioned before, we're not all prepared at the time to understand certain things, and we haven't grown very much further, but we have gone a little bit more. He says that when you're going through something that's painful, we should say, please, God, forgive me, because I've sinned. So we've asked to have this thing happening to us. And also, I think if we are able to let go of feeling sorry for ourselves and seeing the situation the way it is, it might be a painful operation, a illness, a loss, a breakdown of a relationship, a child that is troublesome sometimes, or whatever. There is always a reason for this to be happening. Maybe in the past, maybe something that we've done in this life, because not everything is from the past. Sometimes we make mistakes, we make poor choices, and things happen in this life. It's consequence of this life. Not every single thing is from past. And it's a good opportunity as well. I was listening to something today, actually, that the person was talking about something and said, those who can stand the darkness are the ones who see the light of the morning. But when you see the light of the morning, it's so precious, because you've been through that dark night. And of course, St. John of the Cross, he did write that the dark night of the soul is the moment that our soul is going to the anvil of all the difficulties, of all the pain. And of course, every time we go through this, once we go, we go through the darkness, we see the light is precious, because we learn something. If nothing else, we've learned that we're strong enough to be able to overcome certain things. And I think there is no one in the world who can look back into their own lives, in situations in this life, that at the time that you're facing it, you think, oh my God, I can't cope. I don't think I'll be able to survive this. I don't think I'll be able to overcome this difficulty. But somehow you find a strength, either by, your own strength and help sometimes with other people, help with a prayer. And then afterwards, when you look back, I said, oh my God, it was me? Was I able to overcome that? And I think all of us, I don't think there is a single person in the world who have been through something that they look back and think, at the time, I really felt that I wouldn't be able to, but we did, and it makes you stronger. Like I think Nietzsche said in a book at Homo, that doesn't kill you, makes you stronger. And it's true. And I think to understand suffering, I think the first thing is, it's not a punishment. What we're going through is not a punishment. It's either a consequence of what we've done in the past, or because we've made poor choices in this life, or because we have asked to go through, when we reincarnate, we ask to go through certain situations so we can learn. And also, I think sometimes when we go through very, very difficult time, afterwards we think, we feel better, we feel stronger, we feel our soul seems to be more enlightened, And I think we see this in so many of the literature. You read a lot about this in Sufism and the Kabbalah and if you ever read Gibran, the Khalil Gibran, especially the prophet, he talks about this, that you have, a clay, if it doesn't go to the deepest fire, will never become a porcelain. And that's all this is for our spirit to grow, to look back, and we see that we've been through, we are stronger. And I think that's one of the things, because I read something for you from Emmanuel, the spiritual guide of Chico, when he was talking about the consoler. He says the consoler that was promised by Jesus, being in Spiritism, reaches man as a divine messenger that extends to him the keys for him to reach his own liberation, his own freedom. So the words of Christ, it's in the Sermon on the Mountain, contains, he says, more challenges than comfort. And he says, our Lord, this is from Aimee actually, but it's following the thought. He says, our Lord has revealed to us the pathways of happiness and security. For the heart that suffers, God sends hours and hours, help without measure. So I think it goes into the thing, the consoler. We go through the pain, the difficulty, but we are not abandoned. We are not alone. God is with us. He, like May said, they send hours and hours, day by day, the strength that you need. You are there. And I think, that very famous painting of the footsteps in the sand says more than anything what in those words, because it said, oh, I was the hardest time, you were not there. I said, no, the hardest time I was scaring you. That's why there is only one lot of footsteps. And I think that's what we need to begin to understand, that pain, that suffering that we have in life. It's not the end, is something that we go through. And, when you say, yes, happiness is not of this world, because we all have difficulties. We all have painful times. We cannot be happy all the time. And also, I think one of the things that the gospel teaches us is that how do we manage that? If we curse a pain, if we curse the difficulty, it's harder. And I think one of the things that, oh, God is doing this to me, look at that. And then you feel very isolated, you feel very alone, because you will not have that support that God will give it to you whether you want it or not, because he's there for us all the time. But to be able to understand that, it makes you feel stronger. And when we know there is another life, what we're going through is just a part of our experience, that it goes really quickly. You know, I sometimes find like, oh my God, my birthday already. Oh no, where have all the years gone? It goes so quickly. This incarnation goes so quickly. That's why we need to use the opportunity to learn all the time. And when we have this certainty that life, I think Charles mentioned something about that as well, that when we die, I mean, when our physical body dies, our spirit continues with all the lessons that we have learned in this life. So in our next life will be easier, we'll be stronger. And when we have also the certainty that life goes on, that there is a God that supports us, it's much easier for us to face the difficult times. You know, like at the moment, for instance, I don't watch the news anymore. I just can't cope with that. But you know, even if you don't sit there to watch, people always telling you there is a lot of fear. I mean, we're going through the winter now, and a lot of people not putting their heating on because it's so expensive now. They say, you know, keep your heating down, don't put your heating. So a lot of people are not really maybe putting the heat as much as they need, or just a little bit, or not on at all. There is a lot of problems. You go to the supermarket, even at Christmas, when before used to be packed with things, you see empty shelves, you know. And this creates a lot of fear, a lot of insecurity. You know, this COVID, that is another modification of this illness. There are a lot of people sick. It creates a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty. You know, here in Europe, and it doesn't matter really where you are, we have a war that's going on. We don't know how it's going to happen. This also creates a lot of uncertainty, a lot of strikes. People cannot get to work, or people losing their jobs because the economy is in difficulty and all that. So if we don't have the faith, if we don't have the source of prayer to sustain us at this time, we become very despondent. We become very unhappy. We fill our heads with negative thoughts. And that's exactly the opposite that we need to do. If we trust that God is with us, there is a consoler there that was promised to us. And I think Charles said that as well, that he fulfilled it. We know. And that's one of the things that Spiritism is, a consoler, because it teaches us that there is no punishment, that God is merciful, that he's with us all the time, that what Jesus had promised to be comforted, we have. And it doesn't matter, you don't need to be a spiritist or this religion or that religion. God is a father of us all. Whatever you come from, whoever you are, he is our father, and he's with us. He will never ever abandon us. And I think when we have the certainty, and we can hold on to our hopes through prayer, and to reach out and, you know, send prayers out as well, not only for us, but for everyone, I think it makes a lot difference in our lives. We cannot change the world, but we change ourselves. We can change the lives of the people around us by sending them prayers, by sending them love, by being a ear when they need someone to talk to. And that's what it is, because suffering, we all suffer. It doesn't matter if you're a king, and I mean, you know, anybody listening to the stories of the royal family at the moment know that sitting in a throne can be the worst thing. You know, it would be better not being known by anybody when one member of the family decides to break the family down. But I think if we have the certainty that God is with us, and he's sustaining us, and the promised consoler has come, is with us, and will be with us. Because, you know, like Jesus said, I'll come and I'll be with you forever. So that's the love that never ends, that's always with us. And that's what gives us the strength for the difficult times. So there are pain, there are difficulties, but there is also joy. We know a lot of joy as well. And I think that's what we need to hold on to the joy. That's it. I think I talked too much. I don't know if I answered the question, but I got a bit.
Wonderful. Yes, your questions. I'd like to say that your comments are very nice, Charles. And also, Marco Davis are writing comments here, wonderful as well. Thank you, Marco Davis. Please carry on. And in a few minutes, we will talk about the question from Camille Brilla. But first, I would like to comment a part of Genesis, book Genesis by Allan Kardec, spirits, of course. And the chapter 17, item 40. If you have your book, Silvia comment exactly what I put here for me to comment. Z40. As demonstrated earlier, chapter 1, number 30, Spiritism fulfills all the conditions of the consoler promised by Jesus. It is neither an individual doctrine nor a human conception. No one may be said to be its creator. It is the product of the collective teachings of the Spirit, as Charles said in advance, over which the Spirit of truth presides. It does not eliminate anything in the gospel. I can add the Bible, New Testament. Rather, it completes and elucidates it. With the help of the new laws that it reveals, together with those of science, it makes comprehensible what used not to be unintelligible and admits the possibility of what these beliefs considered as inadmissible. It has had its precursors and prophets who foresaw its coming. Through its moralizing power, it is preparing the kingdom of the good on earth. And now, for Silvia and Charles, there is a question here from Camilo. Do we know, roughly,
Roughly.
when the Spiritism will be anywhere and accepted by all? Charles?
No, we don't. Only God knows. Spiritism is here. The teachings are here. They are available for everyone. I mean, maybe not, but they are available at least in French and English and Portuguese and Spanish and some main languages of the world. They are available everywhere to everyone, even for free. We told you already. But now Jesus also said a lot of people have eyes to see, but they don't see. They have ears to hear, but they don't hear. And this is, of course, depending on our humankind. Nowadays, we have so many, how to say, distractions, things deviating us from the essential values, and focusing us on this material stuff that we will have to leave everything here the day we will pass to the other side, to the spiritual world. So, and then, okay, as we said in French, we are falling down from our clouds, and waking up. But this needs time. How many times? It depends on each one. Everyone wants to come here to Earth to incarnate, to evolve, and so on. So everyone is welcome, even spirits which are disbelievers or heavily materialistic and so on, because we know they receive some information, they receive some seeds, and sooner or later they will also evolve. They will also start understanding the spiritual life. They will also start understanding that they have a soul and that this soul survives to the bodily death. And this is the main trigger. The biggest obstacle for our evolution is materialism, which indeed is also fostering excessive pride and also selfishness. And these are the monsters that keep us bound to the misery, to the material things, and to unhappiness when you go back to the spiritual world. whilst, as Elsa told it very clearly, with universal love, everything changes. God is here. We can slowly but surely walk, climb in His direction on our evolution path. And the more we climb, the happier we will be. So this is, but now Kardec told, yeah, if all the children are educated spiritists in 2 or 3 generations, everyone will be spiritist. I think Kardec was a little bit too optimistic in this, because the 2 or 3 generations are gone already. Maybe we should change now, maybe 2 or 3 reincarnations. Reincarnation is more or less a century. So that would give a more realistic deadline, albeit we don't know, we are not sure about it. But, Camille, we need to be optimistic, because we get some help. We got help from the Spirit of Truth, who came, brought Gospel According to Spiritism, all these wonderful books that are helping us so much in our daily life and consoling us so much when we are facing difficulties and pain. We have them. Now, we have also the pain and the suffering coming from where? Coming, for instance, the COVID brought us, and a lot of people start thinking, okay, am I on the right track? Is this really the life I want? And so on. And a lot of people came to Spiritism thanks to the COVID. The pain, Silvia told it very clearly. I can maybe caricaturize a little bit more. If you put your hand on something hot, you have pain because it burns. And what is the reflex when you have pain? You remove your hand in order that it gets not worse. So we can see that this type of pain is protecting us. Imagine the people who do not feel pain when they put the hand on something which burns. They will completely burn down their hand and have much more consequences than when you, as quick as possible, have the reflex to remove it from there. Suffering and pain is like this. It's to help us to climb, to progress, to make efforts, to put back in questions, to know ourselves a little bit better. And these are all the keys and the trigger that helps us for evolution. Okay. We have now this painful war in Ukraine, and it's one of the 85 wars which are conflicts which are still existing on Earth. So we have to stop with these things. Let's mobilize. Let's raise our voice, not with violence, but with arguments to explain, look, this is not sustainable. We should stop immediately with those things. And have, how to say, spreading this message all around. Like John Lennon, you may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. We will get up, we will end up, how to say, making that this time comes quicker. So this is what you can answer. But to give an exact date, it's impossible. I let Silvia complement.
I think what he said, and one day you will join us. In the song of John Lennon, he says, I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only. And one day you will join us, and the world will be as one. So one day it will come, we're all dreamers. I think this question of Camille here, it's very important. Of course, we cannot tell people that they have to be a spiritist or whatever religion. But if you are a spiritist, you tell people, yes, what I accept is this. And, if the person is open to be, to learn a little bit more, you can say. But I think we need to say with spiritists, and we need to say what spiritism is about, because I remember reading a story from Brother X. And this man, he was a spiritist, he was a worker, he went to the center, he was a really good man, he worked very hard to be better and everything. And he had some friends that he would always meet, and they were very, very close. But he never told his friends that he was a spiritist. Then eventually one of his friends died and went to the spiritual world. And afterwards, in a in a mediumship meeting later, he came to his friend and he said, "You had in your hands the light and you never told me about it. And I suffer now a lot because I didn't know what you knew and you could have told me." This, I remember I read this many years ago, but this has been very, very strong in my mind, because of course you're not going to ask people to change or to be different, but if you have the opportunity, you tell them, yes, I accept spiritism, and that's what it is. It's very open. Believe, we believe in God and reincarnation. We have new opportunities. I think we need to tell people, if we have the opportunity, to say yes. I think this is very important to be able to spread the word. But also, I think spiritism sometimes is not for everyone yet. Some people want other people to solve their problems. And in spiritism, we learn that no matter how many difficulties we came, we are ultimately responsible for ourselves. We need to take the responsibility for our actions, for what we do, for our things. And not everyone, are ready. Some people still need the priest to tell them. And I think that's one of the things. But, as Charles said, we will eventually we'll come to it, and because it will be an universal knowledge, because people, once we die, when we come back, we'll be more spiritist than we've been already. And also, I think one thing to understand is that there are a lot of people around the world who are spiritists and they don't know it, because they live a Christian life. And to live a Christian life is doesn't necessarily even that you have a religion at all. I mean, Jesus said himself, not everyone who says, "Lord, we will enter the kingdom of heaven," of those who do the will of my Father who's in heaven. And there are many people who are kind, who are humanitarian, who help others, who are full of love to their neighbors. And they don't go to church. They don't have an open religion, but they have a Christian life. And I think that's what's important. It's not what you say you are, but what you do. I think I read something here in one of the comments from a poem. When I was reading about the Consola, he says, it's in Latin actually, it says, "Sursum corda, res non verba." Let's lift up our hearts, actions, not words. And I think that's what is really important. I just wanted to say something. I have here my gospel. It's all falling apart, my gospel, but I have there's two messages of Chico Xavier, which I think goes really well for what we've been talking today. And he says, "Prayer is my refuge and my sustenance. With my thoughts connected to the high spheres is how I have been able to go on in my struggles. I pray working and I work praying. I cannot understand how a person who does not pray can survive in this world." And in the other one, which I think is very, very to do with the word today, he says about forgiveness. He said, "Unless we are willing to forgive one another, we will not be able to bear the weight of our tribulations." I think, this is basic, pray, have faith, and also be able to forgive and to let go of things, because that's one of the things that makes us suffer more than anything, is to remember things we hate within our hearts. We need to learn to let go and to forgive ourselves and forgive others as well.
Thank you, Silvia. Very nice comments in our chat. Very nice reflection from Charles, from Silvia, and from the spirits in Genesis, Gospel, in so many books, from Chico Xavier, etc. And we needed the most to understand that really we are not here on this planet on holiday, for sure. Silvia pointed it very well. We are here, and the cause and effect and the law is very important to understand. That's no punishment at all. So, my dear friends, if you want to know more, please read the PDF of the Gospel according to Spiritism and Genesis that we have in our www.bas.org.uk. You can download it for free. And now, almost at the end of our meeting, would you like to say thank you for all these nice chat box here? That's really nice comments from everyone. Thank you all for participating actively. Thank you, Charles. Thank you, Silvia. And thank you, our dear Stevan, that's not here now, Rodrigo, and Nadja, that they are the board, the hosts of the Spiritual Light. That will be 3 years now in February, next start in February. And now we are going to our announcements. But first, Charles, Silvia, would you like to comment? Anything else, please?
No, thank you. I think also thank to all for the questions, and it's really helping us to have this spiritual light living, not only one way, but also going both ways. So thanks a lot for all your comments and questions.
Yes, thank you as well. I don't have anything else to say. Thank you.
Well, very nice. Thank you for Marcelli Johnson as well. And now I will show our slides. Let's see first if I do correctly. Share screen. Yes, okay. Here, here, and here, and starting here now. Let me know if you are seeing my screen. Charles, Silvia?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, we can see.
wonderful. So next week, the topic will be apparitions, transfigurations. So time to time, people ask to talk about it. So every time that we talk, the topic, but in new way to talk about it. A small reminder here that in 15th of January will be 162 years of the Medium's book. So we have every Saturday, 10 a.m. London time, we have the Spirit Book course. So I will show you the link immediately. Oh, now in February, 5th of February, Gabriel Delaney series 2023, from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m., reincarnation in our YouTube. Easily, the link will be sent in advance, but you can see in our Bas Audiovisuals, Island, Kardec Radio, Facebooks, etc. Okay, you can follow once a month. Starting the first Sunday of the month, we will have a topic of new book from Gabriel Delaney. We started on 1st of January with Charles Kempf, okay? And also, now I think it's in February as well, 10, 11, and 12th of February, in English, we have workshops with Florencio Anton, mediumistic painting. This is a confirmation, you can see that the reality of the spiritual world. The painters will bring nice paintings, and you can see this confirmation from that the life goes on. www.kardec.org.uk/Florencio. Also in Portuguese, in Francis of Assisi, William Crookes, and Fraternity in London. You can follow our news in our Facebook. A study of Book Now Solar, Tuesdays, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. The link is below. You can see and copy it. And the mediumship, the medium's book course, every Saturday, new link, 10:30 to 11:30, sorry, okay? In UK time, in French, 11:30 to 12:30. In Finland, 12:30 12:30 and to 1:30 p.m. So conversations on mediumship, you can ask your questions, bring insights for the new comments, etc. every 14 nights, every 2 weeks. And now we finish, I stop the here and stop the where. How can I stop screen? Guys. So I hope you enjoy it. Thank you, Charles. Thank you, Silvia. This is a nice team that brings information every Wednesday, 9 p.m. London time.
Thank
Bless
you
you
all.
all. See you
All the
next week.
best.
Okay, good night. God bless. Have a good week. Ciao, Elsa.
Ciao,
Bye,
querida.
Charles.
Ciao,
Bye.
Charles. I love you all. Bless
Bye.
you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.